Disclaimer: the hosts of this podcast, Timothy Patrick and Will Foley, are by no means medical professionals. However, having lived experience with mental illness themselves, they have gained useful perspectives on common mental health issues that some of us struggle to overcome on a daily basis. By sharing their stories, they hope to create connection. By creating connection, they hope to help you find your purpose. And through purpose, we can all begin to build the foundation for positive mental health. This is Above Ground Podcast.
Are you ready to lace up your boots, throw up your horns, and jump into the pit? Then let's stomp the stigmas of mental illness. It's time for Above Ground Podcast. Now, Will Foley and Timothy Patrick.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 99 of Above Ground Podcast. This week we're going to talk about forgiveness. Tim and I had an interesting conversation because this is something we both need to work on. I think everybody can work on a little forgiveness these days. But I think the hardest thing that we have to face is forgiving ourselves for letting ourselves down. But hey, we'll get into that conversation. First, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who's donating through our PayPal and who's purchasing t-shirts through our close-knit company link. If you go to closeknitco.com, Dan and Natalie have it set up right in their store. They have a CollabX button that you click and you can purchase our Above Ground Podcast, Be Well, Be Safe, Be Above t-shirt. And you can also purchase a cool hoodie with our logo on it. And all the money that we make from those t-shirts is literally just going back into the show as we expand this year. As next week, hard to believe, man, we're 100 episodes in. We're hitting the century mark, and I thank everyone, and Tim and I both thank everyone that connects with us through our social media accounts at Above Ground Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Above Ground Pod on Twitter. Instagram seems to be doing very well, so we tend to hang out a little bit more on Instagram. But we do have a really cool announcement, and that is Dan at Close Knit Company has said that because it's our 100th episode next week, that Dan is willing to give a t-shirt to one listener that we choose at random. So this is what you have to do, peeps. Go on to our social media accounts at Above Ground Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, or Above Ground Pod on Twitter. You can go to our Tumblr. Share our episode. Like us. Tag us, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and tag us and show it to us. Somehow get it to us that you have either shared an episode, liked an episode, done something, and then we are going to enter all these names into a hat. And on Instagram, Tim and I are going to make an announcement. And it won't be on our 100th. It'll be after. It'll be following our 100th. But please tag us, like us, follow us, smash the like buttons, smash the follow buttons, do all that. And that'll at least allow you to get the newest episode as soon as it comes out, as soon as that little notification goes, ding, ding, fries are done. Your ding Above Ground Podcast is set. I crack myself up sometimes. But hey, behind a mic when you're in a room by yourself staring at a baby Yoda and the computer, you got to keep yourself occupied and make yourself crack up. So anyway, this week is about forgiveness. And who do you need to forgive? What do you need to let go of? That's the important thing. All right? So without further ado, let's party like it's episode 99.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Above Ground Podcast.
Above Ground Podcast because you can't serve below.
No, you can't.
What up, TPP? How we doing? You down with TPP?
Yeah, you know me.
Timmy. Cool. Timmy. What's up, buddy?
What's up, Will?
Think we need to talk a little forgiveness this week, man.
Now I'm going to be singing it.
Yeah. We all need a little.
Yeah, sure. We can do that. We can talk about forgiveness.
You know, forgiveness.
Let's
Oof.
jump right in, man. Let's jump right in. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is the release of resentment or anger. Forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. One doesn't have to return to the same relationship or accept the same harmful behaviors from an offender. Forgiveness is vitally important for the mental health of those who have been victimized. It propels people forward rather than keeping them emotionally engaged in an injustice or trauma. Forgiveness has been shown to elevate mood, enhance optimism, and guard against anger, stress, anxiety, and even depression.
And I actually think forgiveness helps the other also.
The other person?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do.
I'm sure it does, yeah.
I think it does. Regardless of whether they understand the extent of what you're forgiving them for or anything, I think it does. And we decided to talk about this week, and this is kind of heavy. Like Tim and I both have experiences in our lives that need a lot of forgiveness and need just different things. And it was posed to me recently by my wife that she's like, why can't I forgive my mother?
You? She was
Yeah, she asked me. And it's true. I've had a hard time forgiving. I've been harboring probably resentment because unfortunately
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think I could be wrong, but I think anybody in that situation would be the same way.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that you can't, that you shouldn't
I'm not,
forgive.
Yeah.
Because
I'm just saying that's a situation that you're in.
Yeah,
that you've been through.
Yeah,
There's history and there's a lot of stuff.
It's true, man, and it's. But I also, because it was posed to me that what would happen, how would I feel if and when she passes, and as I say this now, I get the same feeling that I get every time I say this. I don't have a feeling. Like there's nothing there. Like, and I think that there's probably some guilt that there's nothing there.
There will be if there's not now, yeah.
And maybe that's the case. And, maybe I have to feel that. But it doesn't seem to matter. It seems that I just don't have the emotional attachment, so to speak.
That's fair.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's hard to forgive something that a lot of times is beyond someone else's control. You can't necessarily forgive somebody for being ill because it's not their fault.
Right.
Okay, you can forgive like things, there's things that you need to work on. Like there's certain things that you can hold resentment for, you know what I mean? People causing you pain, infidelity, people like treating you bad, abuse, things like that. There's a definite villain, so to speak. But when it comes to like mental illness, especially, but when it comes to someone's health that isn't always in their control, it's hard to and maybe it's wrong for me to even be resentful, but again, it's like I don't know.
Maybe don't look at it as as it's wrong for you to feel something. Like you feel it, so you should feel it, and maybe you should feel it.
I don't look
and
at
say,
it as wrong to feel
no,
it.
I know, but you kind of said maybe that maybe it's wrong that you feel it. You know what I mean? So it had to have been in your head at some point.
Well, you're supposed to love your parents.
Well, exactly, and that's that thought of you're supposed to. It should be this way.
Well, right.
There it is, right there.
Right,
You're
well-
supposed to. They're your parents. They're supposed to take care of you. They're supposed to. You know what I mean? So that whole platform of what ifs or should be's is as we know, it's the birthplace of suffering.
Yeah, it is. It is. But and if I like look at it in a like you could say that I'm ungrateful. Like some people might think I'm ungrateful because I fall into a pool, she jumps in to get me out, saves me from drowning. And to some people that sounds ungrateful, that I sound ungrateful, that I should just because I should
They
just
haven't seen the videos that I've seen. I'll say that.
but it's still like you resent the fact that you have a sick parent. You resent the fact that you didn't have the things that you needed at the time.
So I think maybe to go back and answer Heather's question, I think you have to do that part first. What you were just saying is get rid of that, heal that part that is what you pretty much just said. I don't know if it's forgiveness. It's just more of a healing, like, I guess heal that part that so you can let it go. If that makes sense.
Let it go.
Yes.
Letting it go is hard.
It is. I don't know. I was saying it's not. I'm going to read this really quick just because it says this is why forgiveness is so difficult. Because obviously we both feel that it is. Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
So I'm sure there's got to be somebody out there that feels that way, and maybe this will help a little bit. It doesn't say where it's from, but this is why forgiveness is so difficult. It forces us to recognize that we may never get justice, repaid what is emotionally owed, or closure.
Yeah, that's and you know what? That has actually been said to me.
Really?
Yeah, that it's that lack of emotional, it's that lack of attachment that makes it very hard for you to forgive because you don't necessarily know how to do it. And I don't think I know how to do it.
So is it easier if there's a stronger attachment, you think?
No, I don't think it gets easier.
All right, okay.
I think it depends on the situation you're in.
All right, contemplating forgiveness may even bring us to an awareness of our own faults. I can see that. I can see that after I read it. Yeah. Forgiveness asks us to be the bigger person. It encourages us to, there's that word again, let go.
Let go.
Let go of the anger, the hurt, sadness that we've held onto for so long. It is necessary for us to heal, to grow, to live, to experience love in our relationships, and to be 100% present in our day-to-day lives. Forgiveness can be for you and no one else.
Wow.
So that kind of goes back to what I said. You have to let go of some of that stuff and heal before you can probably forgive. That's how I was trying, Well,
I've thought I've let go of stuff.
Yeah,
but when you're forced to pick up the pieces again over and over again because of the same things, it's hard to fully let it go.
Sure. Especially, again, it's hard to let it go when you haven't healed from it.
True. Well, that's true. Right.
Right.
And it's hard to let go of anything if you
grudges,
haven't healed from it.
Kind of thing like that. And then you ruminate on it, and it can turn in, as we know, a big, huge snowball.
How are you working on that?
What?
Since all your stuff. Have you started to?
Yeah. I have, but I don't know if certain parts. I don't know. In certain parts, I don't know exactly how to or how to go about it. Certain parts, I just have to say it in my head. Not to kind of not to have an actual physical conversation. Just say it in my head, like I forgive this person or I forgive that person. And there's times where I think some of it is more me. Like I have to forgive myself. You know what I mean? I have to stop and go, I'm only human. You know what I mean? Like, because there's a lot of me where my anger stems from, where I'm actually not necessarily mad at the situation. I'm mad at my reaction to the situation. And then I get mad at myself.
So that makes it worse. So it's like a compounding effect.
Total compound. Yep.
So I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think that anger was a contributing factor in all your stuff? Do you think between your divorce and stuff, do you think that anger was a factor in it? Can you accept that it was a factor in it? Just like I can accept.
Absolutely. No,
because I can accept my.
Yeah.
I can accept the fact that, like, for me, like when it came to my mother, like one of the best things that I did was just turn off everything. Like in my late 20s, like I stopped dealing with everything and everybody. But unfortunately, as we know, if you ignore something, it comes back,
that
man.
Credit card, man.
Yeah, dude, the debt comes. You're going to pay it one way or the other, except the interest on it is freaking really high, man. Sometimes it's your life. And not to, and I'm not being flippant when I say that. I mean, the debt that comes with is sometimes your life.
I think some of definitely some of that stuff. Most of that for that aspect of it, I've owned, but some of the stuff that is harder to let go is other people's reaction to it. So I think, if you want me to really break it down and get totally naked, I think a lot of it is more of my self-worth. And I kind of get caught if if this happens, if a situation happens and then someone attacks me and says this is, and I'm like, well, no, that's not what happened and that's not why I did this. I feel the need to explain. And here's where the problem lies. Like, I'm giving a fuck when I shouldn't give a fuck. You know what I mean? I'm taking my energy and my fucks out of my pocket and going, here, I'm going to spend this fuck and concentrate on this situation and this person that really at the end of the day doesn't deserve an explanation. Like, I have to know myself. Like, I don't need to do this. Like, I did this. I have to know why I did this. And that it came from a good place, and I'm not, a negative, anger-driven and blah, 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 long line of these things. I have to go, I'm not those things. And I have to believe who I am and trust in who I am. You know what I mean? So that's where the self-worth comes and says, maybe I'm not convinced yet, so then I have to take my energy and time, spend it on explaining to that other person, basically just giving an explanation. I can even just say that, giving an explanation to things. Like, you know what I mean? Like, some people don't deserve an explanation.
Yeah, I get that.
So
some people don't deserve an explanation. I don't know if it's that people don't deserve an explanation. I don't think that every situation deserves an explanation.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I don't think every situation.
Yeah, better said.
And I don't think every situation expects an explanation necessarily.
True.
You know what I mean? I mean, there's certain things that are just are.
But it's a matter of, I don't know if it came through or not, and it's hard. Like, I know what I want to say, but I always, when I do try and communicate, it comes out different. So basically, it's like, say if this situation is this situation, okay, and I can spend time, trying to forgive and explain my side of it, and it's not going to change the situation or this person's mind, that's what I'm talking about. Like, so that's it's not like no matter what, they're going to think that. So I should just have to say, okay, I'm spending too many fucks on this situation, this person, because if that's how they're going to think, they really don't matter. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of thought they did, so I was like, maybe I should give them the benefit of the doubt and try and, you know, explain this situation and kind of talk through like a respectable adults, I guess you could say. But some situations, as you said, they don't, you know, they don't call for that. They don't need it. So it's like, I view it as, I'm not going to spend my time and my fucks on this situation, because at the end of the day, no matter what I would do, that person's not going to...
Well, nothing's going to change.
Right.
But is that beneficial, though, to being able to let stuff go? Because I still don't know if... I don't know if letting go of stuff... Like, there's a fine line between letting go of stuff and then avoiding stuff.
No, it's definitely not avoiding.
Because I
it's
definitely
letting
can
it
say
go.
this. I can definitely say that I've avoided stuff, for sure.
I'm sure I have in the past, but no, this is more of me trying to not avoid it, trying to face it head on and say, you know what I mean? Try and acknowledge it and let's work this out, kind of thing. But again, that's where it's like, it is beneficial, because I see it now. I can see it as that. I can see it as, no matter what, if I give this person $100, they're going to complain because I gave it to them in 10s and not 5s or not 20s. So it doesn't matter. So that's where my piece comes in, and I say, I'm done with it. Like, I don't need to, like, this is how it is, whatever. If you want to think that way of me, go right ahead. You know what I mean? And that's where the self-worth comes in, because I don't really want you to think that way of me, because that's not what I am. That's not, you know what I mean? What you're saying is not true.
Right.
You know?
Okay.
So I'm spending that time to do that, and I shouldn't be. So it benefits my mental health, and letting go is like, I need to just let go, because holding on, as we said before, it causes more pain. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I think that, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that is more of a forgiveness to myself, you know? To say, it's okay to let this go, because, you know, you gave a valiant effort to do what you thought was right. Maybe it wasn't right, but what you thought was right, you tried, and it doesn't work. It just expends your energy and time. You know, and I'm at a point where time is way more valuable than pretty much anything else. Time is like a valuable commodity to me. Like, my time, if I need time out, if I need to take time out, you know what I mean? Like, that's my time. So when I have to screw around and waste that time on a situation like this, that's not going to change anyways. You know what I mean?
Sure. I suppose yeah, and I guess it depends on the situation.
Well, sure,
and on whatever situation it is.
Right. But it almost goes back to a conversation we had a while ago about boundaries. It's like, if that person, you know, if that person cared as if they said they did, then they would they would allow that space for me to speak and at least validate some of it. Okay, or at least not even necessarily validate, just be able to have a conversation, and just, instead of shutting it down and saying, like, this is the way it is. You know what I mean?
It's hard for two people, because you may feel it's supposed to be this way, but that's not the way it is. So you may want it to be that way.
Yeah,
but
no,
that doesn't necessarily...
It's not necessarily a want, but it is more of a, I feel it is, and that's why I said that. It could not be the right way, but at the same time, like, I don't really have there's no book telling me, you know what I mean, what a better way is. I don't have a better way, so that's the best I can do at this time in my life. You know what I mean? And if my best at this time isn't good enough for that person, then see you later. Like, there's, you know what I mean? I'll give you the fee for the taxi ride. See you later. You know what I mean? I just paid the $20 to give myself a little bit more peace of mind. It's worth it.
Yeah, I guess there's a benefit to that. I don't have that setting generally. Unfortunately, like things that I've needed closure on, a lot of things I never got closure on, and I think a lot of those things still bother me in certain ways.
Is it
Not
possible
everything.
to get closure on them? Do you think at this point?
You know what? At this point in my life, a few things I don't care about closure on.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because I've come to the
Good, yeah.
You know what I mean? I've come to realize that you don't need closure on everything. Some things are just not worth the time. I think though, when depending on what the situation is, like when it comes to family and it comes to family dynamics, I think that there are certain things that, yes, you may not appreciate the way somebody goes about something, but I do still think that there's value in being able to try to forgive someone, because unfortunately there's a lot of pieces in that interplay.
Yeah,
you know
sure.
what I mean? So
But I guess some of that maybe...
and some of it goes back to just, kids, parents, that kind of shit. And then unfortunately kids get stuck in the middle of parent stuff because they're a factor of those two people being together. So
Let me ask you this. Let's say, whether it's a family dynamic, a friend dynamic, whatever, the dynamic, it's some kind of interpersonal dynamic.
they're all interpersonal.
True.
You know what I mean?
What if something happened, a situation happened, and you decided to forgive that person? Mm-hmm. And then they keep coming back and repeating the same behavior.
Well, I see it's tough because I'm living through this. And unfortunately, some of the behavior isn't necessarily that person's fault.
Okay.
On that.
There's a different dynamic to that
There's
situation.
a different
Sure.
dynamic. If you're making a choice, that's different. So there's different dynamics there.
Okay.
So there's
Perfectly.
always going to be different dynamics
Sure.
between a husband and wife, or partners, than there are parents and kids. There's always going to be a different dynamic. And kids don't understand that there was things before they were there.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? So but it's also hard, like, for children to, when two people are constantly going back and forth, to get any real, like, just balance between it.
Right.
And granted, look, I mean, at a certain point you got to just give up and move on, and then just be like, hey, whatever. You can't, there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing's going to change.
Right.
And it's not going to change anything that's been done.
Right.
But I do think that anything that happens, we all play a part in. You both
Sure.
play a part
Oh, yeah,
in,
yeah, yeah.
regardless. So regardless, one person does something, you have a hand in that. You may not have done this, but you contributed to part of that, because there's obviously needs that aren't being met, or there's obviously emotions that aren't being tended to, or
But if no one that other person doesn't say anything about needs being met, emotions being met, until like months later, and then you're like, I don't know. I don't know if that you do technically have a part in that.
I think we always have a part in it, because regardless of whether we see it the day of, or if it started, X amount of years ago or whatever, you always seem to have, you're always a partner in the dance, one way or the other. Because there's no dance without, there just isn't.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
And
I feel like there
it's-
might be certain situations where I don't know. But I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying.
Granted, what somebody makes a choice, it may not necessarily have been the choice you wanted or the choice you would have made, but we make choices based on what our perceptions are. And if it's hard to change perceptions if you keep seeing the same thing over and over again. And it's
That's why you should ask questions twice.
yeah, you probably need to ask questions more than twice.
Well,
You know what I mean? But
let me read this really quick, just because I wrote down some benefits of forgiveness. Let's see. So, forgiveness therapy have been linked to greater feelings of happiness, hopefulness, and optimism. The process of forgiveness can also protect against serious conditions such as anxiety and depression, and even PTSD. The act was also shown to benefit cardiac patients by significantly lowering their blood pressure. How about that, Will?
wow.
Harboring anger and resentment leads to the body to release stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline whenever the person comes to mind.
How about that, Timmy?
I know. A steady stream of those chemicals can lead to stress and anxiety, as well as dampen creativity and problem solving.
Yes, they can, and they do.
And they do, for sure.
Dude, I'm experiencing it on a level like I can't like.
Yeah, because I think you're
making a decision about anything is like I'm afraid to go in a direction
even
because
all situations, or just with
a lot.
Yeah.
A lot, man. It really, like, and again, it comes to self-worth.
Yeah.
And are you worth are you worth letting shit go? Are you know what I mean?
Yeah. Begin by acknowledging that you are at fault and take responsibility for the hurt you caused. Reflect on why the event occurred and identify how to avoid a similar offense in the future. Then forgive yourself by focusing on the thought. Say it out loud, write it down. Apologize to the person you wronged and try to improve their life in a meaningful way. Again, why this came up again. This is why is self-forgiveness so difficult? Mistakes often become attached to underlying beliefs about ourselves.
Yeah.
Which is what we just talked about.
It really is about belief
know?
in yourself.
Yeah. Self-forgiveness can require these beliefs to be identified and addressed first. This pitfall and others makes self-forgiveness especially challenging. To forgive is to exercise goodness even towards those who are not good to you, which is
It's difficult, man.
Hero work right there.
Yeah, that's hero work. Yeah, that's shadow work right there, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to quiet your inner critic and stay out of the emotional mind. For
good fucking luck with that.
I know. I'm just saying.
Serious. I'm serious.
Look, I know, but I'm just saying. I think those are things that would help the.
It's awfully hard to stay out of the emotional
Dude,
mind, man.
Look it. I know.
Especially when you're like, when you're faced with it every day, one way or the other.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and I don't know why I keep saying, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Well, it says here this. Try these strategies for moving on in healthy ways. Express yourself.
Express yourself.
Express yourself. If you want to maintain your relationship with the other person, consider expressing in a healthy way how the actions affected you. If that isn't possible or might do more harm than good, try writing a letter instead, then tear it up or burn it. In deciding whether to confront the person or not, ask yourself, what is the outcome I wish to achieve? Next is find the positive. Expressive writing is a great tool for better understanding and processing complex thoughts and emotions. Journal about the impact of the other person's actions on you, and then write about the good things that came from the situation. Often bad experiences have some positives, and a daily gratitude journal can also help.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Cultivate empathy, which is... Whew. You don't have...
You're not a big empathy guy.
I'm not a big empathy guy. You don't have to agree with what other people have done or even try to justify it. But it can be helpful to put yourself in others' shoes. Ask yourself, what things were they dealing with at the time? What were their motives and struggles? How are they like me? You know, I think some of the empathy for me is because I've done a lot of this stuff. I've been through it. I've picked myself up. And I see it as if I can do it, then you can do it. You know what I mean? I'm critical in that way.
Yeah, you're critical, all right.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Like, it goes back to kind of what we had talked about before. Like, do you want a blanket or do you want a solution-based answer?
Well, sometimes people need a blanket. Sometimes
Do they need
a
it
solution.
or do they want it?
No, sometimes people really do just need a blanket, man.
Possible. Yeah.
Sometimes people need a blanket. Sometimes they need a drink of water. Sometimes they need a stern talking to. At times.
Yeah.
But I still think that, you know.
But if you're sitting there and you're like struggling and it's the same things that pop up and you're struggling and then, you know, and then again, you take time and you out of your day and you go on social media and complain about it and write about it. It's like if you have that kind of time to do that, you have time to put a plan together and to figure out a solution or at least get an idea of the outcome that you would want out of this. You know what I mean?
If you're writing about it on social media, you got another issue there.
Sure.
I mean, but again, that's a creative outlet for a lot of people.
Right, yeah, that's fine.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that
But there is if you get stuck in that and that's all you're doing. It's like, again, if you shit your pants and don't change it and then complain about it, it's like, you know what I mean? It just, for me,
sometimes people shit their pants and they need some help getting them changed.
Okay, but that's fine, but at least stand up and admit that you shit yourself and ask for help. You know?
Well, we know this. Asking for help is
sure. I'm not saying this stuff's easy. I'm just saying,
one of the
like,
hardest things there is, man.
It is. It is.
Asking for help should be an Olympic sport.
Should be
a negative Olympic sport. The negative Olympics.
Yes.
Dun, 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 dun.
You like that, huh?
Yeah, that was another good one. I like the negative Olympics. If you look at social media, you see a lot of people partaking in the negative Olympics.
That's all they do. It's yeah. There's a lot of gold medals for sure on social media.
Yeah, a lot of undeserving gold medals.
Oh yeah, yeah. But they're undeserving because they're gold medals in the negative Olympics. I mean, who really wants to participate in that? You know. I mean, I should say.
There's people who do. They're called trolls.
Yeah. You know, there's an article in the newest edition of Health magazine. It's the self-care issue. But it's got
self-care. There's that nasty 8-letter word.
It's a little piece on how to forgive yourself. And but anyways, there's an article and there's this little blurb about it doesn't give a name, but somebody had said this because it's in quotes, but when you forgive someone, you are no longer granting that person power over the way you feel. You can live your life without the emotional roadblock. It's something you do to make yourself feel better.
And as I'm looking at that, I see the word forward, and it's funny that forgive.
Yeah, 5 steps forward.
For.
Stop waiting for an apology. that gives the other person the power to set the timeline on your emotions.
Yeah, I was told that too.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was told to stop waiting for an apology that's never going to come.
Yeah.
Because it can't.
It's kind of like what I say is like, don't be surprised when you walk into a circus and see a clown. It's the same thing. You know what I mean? If like you're not going to get an apology, don't wait for it. You know? Don't expect love from someone who doesn't know how to love.
That's true.
You know? Check in with your feelings. Change the narrative. Put pen to paper. That's a journal.
Change your underwear.
Change your underwear. Yeah. Step back and change your underwear. Those are some steps to forgiveness, I guess. Forgiveness is tough, man. Forgiveness is not only a tough thing to put into action, but I think it's a tough thing to kind of lay out, to even like understand fully and comprehend, you know?
Yeah.
Or no?
Yeah. It's hard because you gotta. Because again, if you have to forgive something, you have to admit that something's hurt. And a lot of people look at hurt as a weakness.
Okay.
So, you know what I mean? And then there's other people that will, there's predators that prey on that weakness. So
yeah, I mean, if there's a serious, mental condition, then I think the rules wouldn't really apply. I'm saying like, if there's like a mass murderer or something like that, and they don't necessarily care about forgiveness, or if they do, it's for their own gain somehow.
Well, yeah, it's their own
shadow.
That needs that, but forgiveness is it's hard to forgive when it's hard to look at our pain. And it's hard to look at the pain that's been caused, the pain that you've caused. Mm-hmm. Because and
admit to it, right? Like identify it
and admit to it and identify it. And
I think I bet you that it's weird.
Because it comes there's a lot of guilt. There's a lot of guilt, that I think, comes with that. That, you like maybe like a survivor's guilt where you survive something and you feel guilty because somebody else didn't. And you don't forgive yourself because why me? You know what I mean? Why?
Right. I gotcha.
I think it's hard to forgive things that have been done to us that to us seem very, very just blatant.
And it couldn't be, the other person doesn't see it as blatant.
The other person doesn't necessarily see it
That's
as blatant. Fair. But then the other person could see it as just a power trip.
I've been in that situation, though, where like someone was like, wow, that was really bad or something like that. And I'm like, I didn't realize it. But like, I'm just thankful that there was a conversation about it. And, if you bring it to my attention, I'll own my shit and go, okay, now I know better. So hopefully I will do better. That's,
Right, and then it's getting to the point of being able to look at it and go, well, why did I do it in the first place? Like, what was the reason? And the reason not necessarily meant being the first reason. There's always something under there. There's always something under the surface, lurking like dun dun.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's kind of a different monster, but.
Nah, they're all the same monster.
They
just got many teeth.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think the monster is all the same monster. I just think it's got different teeth. I think it's got different colors. Comes with different masks.
So it's funny because on some of the stuff that I've read, it's mostly like people saying it's for my own good and like forgiveness is for me, and you had made a statement saying that it's also for the other person, right?
I think it can be. I granted, look, there's some
No,
things.
I'm just curious to hear.
Yeah, and there's certainly things that are unforgivable. Okay, because again, like you said, you
Right.
don't have to forgive the other person to acknowledge that it was okay. It's always to your benefit to forgive,
Right.
but it actually frees up that energy to forgive, regardless of how bad it is. And you know what I mean? So
Yeah, no, I do.
But it doesn't mean that it's in practice that it's easy to do, or that you
Right.
even recognize that you have to do it.
Right. Right. No, I get it. That makes sense.
So I don't know. You know what I mean? Forgiveness is I guess we're going to have to come back to this conversation of forgiveness.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that in order to forgive something, you have to acknowledge that it happened. And I think that acknowledgement is pretty big. So I think that acknowledgement, without acknowledgement from, one or two parties, from both parties involved, is hard. But if the other party owns it.
Let me ask you this question really quick, because I agree with that. I think there has to be acknowledging of it and either, taking, see, this is my, but this could be just me. This could be a me issue. Like, what if, as you said, it's a dance. There's two people. So what if I take responsibility for my part and the other person doesn't?
Well, the question is it that they don't take responsibility for it, or do they not take responsibility for it in the way you wish they would? And that's a deeper question. That's a bigger question that you may not feel that.
Well,
that
no,
it was,
it's a different. I think it's more of a somebody just saying it. Like, it's not necessarily like, I don't. I guess. I feel like I know what you're saying, but I feel like in this situation, it's either like, you say that you had a you say that you had played a part in the role, or you don't admit that you did. You know what I mean? So if you don't say it,
it can't be both ways. Like,
what do you mean?
Like, you can't have it both ways. Obviously, if you do something or somebody does something to you, they obviously did it, regardless of whether they admit it or not.
But then they'll blame it. But some people won't admit it, and then they'll blame. They'll put it on you. They'll try to put it on you.
Yeah, and that's a whole other.
Okay.
That's a whole other like projection.
Right.
Conversation. But again, though, also is it that you just feel that way because it's always felt that way? Because again, if you keep feeling that the movie keeps showing you the same scene over and over again, you kind of get used to that scene. So you don't. So even if you saw a new scene, you would still go back to that old scene because it's been replayed hundreds of times.
Right. I think that's I think in I guess in the beginning stages to acknowledge and each accept responsibility in your part is, I think the language would have to be, instead of using the you statements, you know what I mean, kind of thing.
Well, right, and that comes down to
like I
nonviolent communication.
Well, but that's
stuff,
what I mean. It's like you were saying, like depending on how you react to it, or if something's in question, I would be like, well, I feel like you attacked me, or I feel that you were trying to do this because you said this, and then that other person could say, no, I didn't mean that, and then you know what I mean, and then that could resolve it right then and there. So I think communication's a big part of it.
Well, yeah, and if you don't know how to communicate with the other person, that's
just causes another
right. Because I mean, not everybody's not. A lot of people have two left feet, so even the most what you would deem a good couple that could dance together may not be able to dance together because they just may not be able to have the steps.
Right. They might be able to do like the tango, but they can't do the cha-cha.
Actually, I think when it comes to some, I think it'd be one thing if you were standing there doing the white man's overweight and separated than it is when you try to dance together. Because some people can dance together separately,
I see what
but
you're
not
saying.
dance together.
Right,
couply.
as a couple. Yep.
As a couple, you know what I mean? So,
Yep.
like, people can stand on their own and get along great on their own in their own terms, but then when you put the two, it's like oil and water. It's just like just doesn't mix.
Well, I'm going to start off by saying that I forgive myself for not being able to do a better job on this episode. Because I don't know if we put stuff out there, we had a conversation, but, this is tough for me, forgiveness. I just don't, I know what I know about it, and that's about it, and there's a lot to this,
Well, there's a lot of bricks in this wall, man.
There is.
It's not necessarily that we wanted to get anything, concrete built.
Yeah,
It's
I know. I just like to try and
so
help.
you start laying some bricks to have the further conversation.
I think reflection is a good thing.
Yeah, reflection is a good thing, man. Reflection is a good thing. As long as you don't get caught in the headlights.
Yeah.
As long as nobody's high beaming your mirror and you can't see. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I think reflection is a good thing. And we'll have to come back to forgiveness.
Yeah.
As we get some more insights and stuff, we'll come back to forgiveness. Because I think that we could both use a little tenderness.
We could use a little more knowledge and a little more help, a little more push.
Maybe.
So if any of you guys want to step up to the plate and help us out, feel free to contact us.
Yeah, contact us Above Ground Podcast at Gmail or find us on all the socials.
Instagram at Above Ground Podcast.
Yeah, find us, seek us out. We're fun.
Thanks for listening, y'all.
Yeah, thanks again. And until next time, be well.
Be safe.
Be above.